All right, so with college football and really college basketball, just college in general, realignment and expansion conference rumors kind of heating back up. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some Big 12 potential expansion candidates. So, as far as how it's really going to happen, I think pretty much what's going to go down as of right now, you've got the Big 10, you've got the SEC, you've got the Big 12 and the ACC kind of hanging on. Now, the ACC probably has more to offer right now, team wise, as far as in comparison to the Big 12, as far as what's left. Now, the rumors going around are that the ACC is going to eventually get eaten up by the SEC and the Big 10 as teams look to, conferences look to expand to 20 or 24 teams. So, what I think is going to happen most likely is you're going to lose, the Clemsons, Florida States, Miami's, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia. All those six are going to get eaten up by and put into either the Big 10 or the SEC, probably split, and they'll probably add two more teams in there just to make it even. You know what I mean? But that's probably what's going to go down there. Now, what's going to happen with the rest of the ACC? That's what we're trying to figure out. So probably the rumors as of now is they're going to eventually probably merge with the Big 12 to kind of form a kind of third, I won't say super conference because that's obviously not the case, but like a tier below, but a tier above everybody else, if that makes sense. So pretty much what's left over of the Power Five schools is what it would be. So, your NC States, your Syracuse's, Pitt, everybody else that wouldn't be in that top six, of the ACC would end up falling down to the Big 12, kind of hanging on for dear life as far as an automatic playoff lock. And so you'd have pretty much every year you would have, 5 Big 10 schools, 5 SEC schools, a Big 12 school, and then your group of 5 schools, kind of what we'd be looking at there. But with that being said, to make this a little more interesting, we're going to be looking at Big 12 expansion candidates if the ACC does not dissolve. So we're going to go with the assumption here, everybody's trying to get to 20 or 24. Let's say the ACC doesn't dissolve, so the SEC and Big 10 don't scoop them up. So pretty much it's going to be a free-for-all on all the group of 5 schools, what we're looking at today. So let's go ahead and look at my honorable mentions here before we get into my top 10. Number 6, UTSA. All right, still a fairly new school here. Hasn't been around probably, 10, 15 years now. But they've had a lot of success in football these past few years. Just recently moved up to the American Athletic Conference. I don't know if they offer you just enough yet, but maybe give it 10 years, and this is probably a pretty good school. So maybe they want to jump the gun, you know what I mean? Go ahead and get them before they're booming, I guess. All right, number 5. Okay, so East Carolina, I know you're going to think that doesn't really fit with the Big 12, but with how everything's going now, I've heard the Big 12 is trying to basically expand east to west, just make up the whole United States. And that's kind of the route we're headed. We're headed almost super conferences all the way across. They're reaching out west already, you know what I mean? So you've already got ties to Colorado. Might as well go ahead and working in there. That way towards East Carolina. And then let's say you bring in those ACC schools like NC State, you know what I mean? Maybe you bring them in. And so you've got some ties to that area. And with that being said, East Carolina is like a top 10 group of 5 money-wise revenue school. All right, number 4, Florida Atlantic. Not the huge moneymaker that like East Carolina is, for example, but FAU basketball right now is booming. Probably as good as it's going to get. And why not jump on that momentum? And we've heard rumors before, which we'll get to later, but that the Big 12 would be interested in potentially putting their stake in, we're not the best football we're not the best football conference, but we are for sure the best basketball conference, especially with how it's headed now. You've got 4 of, I think, the top 5 net teams right now in college basketball. You've got Houston, you've got Baylor, you've got BYU, you've got Arizona coming in, which is a number 1 team right now, arguably. So why not just stake our claim in basketball? We'll let football kind of do the rest, you know what I mean? So say that we are for sure the best basketball conference. We're going to get everybody that's good in basketball. Then we'll go from there as far as football was. So something definitely to keep an eye on. All right, number 3, Fresno State. If you want to expand even more to the west, get your ties again into California, Fresno State, you could do worse than Fresno State. Fresno State, similar to East Carolina, top 10 group of 5 revenue maker as far as college football is concerned. So definitely an interesting prospect there. All right, number 2, James Madison, fairly new Division I school, but they're having a ton of success in both football and basketball right now. Top 25 teams in both football and basketball. Why not capitalize on that? They're also, similar to those other schools, a top 10 revenue maker as of last year for a group of 5 school, and they're only booming up. And you go ahead and get ties over there into the Virginia area, bring in, Virginia Tech possibly if they don't end up going to the SEC, which I think they will. But if you could somehow pull them into, you get ties to that area as well. All right, now number 1 on this honorable mention, this is basically if we're going all in on the basketball route. You add Marquette, you add Villanova. All right, so these are, as far as college basketball is concerned, top 25 revenue teams, and that's all of basketball. So that's including Power 5 schools. That's including everybody. Marquette and Villanova make a lot more money than a lot of those schools. Marquette was in the top 10. Villanova, I believe, was in the top 20 when I was looking. So both of these schools could offer you a lot profit-wise, and they're going to make the tournament at least almost every other year. As of right now, Marquette's always going to be in. Villanova, if they can get back to how they were under Jay Wright, they're always going to be in. What could definitely do worse than those 2 schools. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll up to my top 10 list here. All right, number 10, Boise State. All right, so there's been rumors of Boise State joining Power 5 schools for I don't know how long now, 20 years. Ever since they started their little run under Chris Peterson, they've been the little guy that could maybe move up. Still hasn't happened yet, but I feel like eventually it will happen. They just offer you so much. They're a solid football team. They're a solid basketball team. And they're in a good area over there where there's not a lot of big schools. So you might could start pulling every single recruit from that area. All right, number 9 here, if I can get up to the next one, Tulane. All right, Tulane, they are good in football right now. They're good in basketball right now. Probably the top group of 5 school in college football right now, definitely, as far as consistently, you know what I mean? So they just lost their head coach to the Big 12, Willie Fritz, but they pulled in Troy's head coach, John Sumrall. Troy is a power as of right now when it comes to college football and the group of 5. So if they can pull him, that means they're a tier above pretty much everyone that's every other conference in the group of 5, So like comparing Sunbelt to American Athletic Conference. So why not go ahead and add Tulane in, get some ties into that Louisiana area. I'm not going to say you can compete with LSU as far as recruiting wise, but you can start a little pipeline to where you can kind of start every so often getting a couple of those recruits that wouldn't start at LSU right off the bat, but they might start at Tulane, and you can pull in some pretty solid, 4-star recruits. All right, number 8, Colorado State. All right, you've already got Colorado coming in this next batch of realignment. Why not bring Colorado State in? They're also a big revenue earner in terms of college football. They've also had some success in college basketball as of late. Can definitely do worse. You could also, like I said, you kind of bring in a Colorado State rival together and really branch out that way and kind of control, I won't say exactly the West Coast because obviously USC and UCLA are in another conference in the Big Ten, but you can kind of everything around that area, around Oregon, around Washington, around California, everything else, you just create a barrier of Big 12. You know what I mean? So anything in that little area there going up from New Mexico and Arizona is belonging to the Big 12. Number 7, Air Force. All right, so this is kind of surprising when I was looking at this, that they're actually a big revenue earner as well. Air Force makes a ton of money in the college football game. And really, you could do worse here. You could bring in a team here out in Colorado. You get another rivalry. So say you bring in them and Colorado State together, you're taking down that whole Colorado area. Nobody is leaving Colorado unless they're going to the Big 12, probably recruit-wise. Number 6, San Diego State, a team that's been thrown around before, have had a ton of success in basketball lately, really for the last, 15 years, going back to when Kawhi was there. I know their football team's kind of lacked as of late, but still a ton of revenue, and you kind of get your foot in that California area. Think like I was saying with Fresno, you control San Diego, start getting some bigger California recruits, kind of create a pipeline for the Big 12 there. Number 5, UNLV, probably the biggest market that's not a Power 5 school right now. Las Vegas, they've got a pro football team now. And really, it's just a huge market in general. People are going to bet on games. So Las Vegas is always going to be huge for the casinos and everything else they got going on there. Did Caesar really live here? But UNLV really slept on, could offer you a ton in the revenue market, and could really, like I said, solidify, similar, like I said earlier, that line right outside of California that every state you pass through here belongs to the Big 12. Number 4, USF. All right, so USF is really kind of trending up right now. They're in the American Athletic Conference right now. Trending up. They did pretty good this year. They're starting to get some pretty good recruits and transfers. So they should be getting better. And the more they move up, the more attractive they're going to become in that area. So think Central Florida. But right now, if you add them, you add another team in Florida. So you're competing with Florida and Florida State, obviously. You're never going to be, as powerful as them. But Florida's down right now. If you can capitalize on that, stake your claim there and kind of make it to where not every single Florida recruit is going to go to Florida or Florida State. And if not, they're going to, Bama or LSU or Tennessee or Georgia. But with this, that gives them another option. You can probably pull in some solid recruits and kind of create more competition in Florida, for the Big 12. Number 3, Memphis. I'm really surprised Memphis has not made the jump to the Big 12 yet. I know they tried to last time. They were in like the Final Four candidates. But I'm surprised they did not get in. Memphis, pretty solid football team, always a solid basketball team, and really one of the bigger markets, similar to what I was saying earlier with UNLV, one of the bigger markets that's not like, in a Power 5 school or in a Power 5 conference, pardon me. Memphis I think could flourish if they could somehow get to the Power 5 level. I don't think it's going to happen yet, but within the next 10 years, I think Memphis will be a Power 5 school. I say Power 5. What is it now? Power 4? I don't even know. It's going to be Power 3 by the time we're done with this crap. All right, so number 2, this is if we decide to go the straight basketball route. There's already been rumors. The Big 12 commissioners already had talks with both of these schools actually about joining. I can confirm that. That's not rumors. That's not hearsay. That's confirmation. They've had talks with Gonzaga whenever they came down to Texas last year to play on college basketball. Big 12 commissioner talked with Gonzaga about potentially joining the Big 12. So this would mean probably they're going to have to add a football team, I would guess. But if you want to stake your claim as the best basketball conference, this will no doubt make you the best the best basketball conference. So you'd have, we already went over earlier, Baylor, Houston, Arizona. Now you add UConn and Gonzaga. You're going to be dominating the basketball landscape. You're going to have 5 definitely top 25, arguably 5 top 10 teams every year. These 2 teams are in the top 10 right now. I think they actually play tonight when I'm making this video. But if you could add Gonzaga and UConn, you'd definitely be on the right track if you want to go that route. And then you kind of add some of these other schools with them, But UConn was almost added last time, actually. In this last batch of realignment, it was a possibility that they were going to add these 2. But if you want to go, like I said, stake your claim with the basketball world, go ahead and go with these 2, and then the football fill in later. Gonzaga can be bad at football. UConn can be bad at football. It's fine. They're still going to make enough money in basketball-wise and bring you some championships that it makes up for it. All right, number 1, Oregon State, Washington State. This is going to be number 1 on everybody as far as non-ACC right now is concerned because they just have a leg up on everybody. While these other teams could offer you more potential, down the line, they've already got a leg up on everybody. They've already got a head start. They've been not Division I. They've been Power 5 for a long time. So they have the jump on everybody, Now, these 2 obviously got left out of realignment for a reason. That means probably their revenue. They're not making enough money to justify bringing them into these other conferences because you've already seen everybody else go. Now, this would give you ties to Oregon and Washington. So like I said, you can maybe compete a little more with Oregon and Washington as far as in those states to maybe bring in some of those recruits, some of those prospects into the Big 12. Now, if SMU wouldn't have joined the ACC, they would probably be number 1 on this list because it's kind of, the Dallas market has a ton of prospects, ton of kids. But Oregon State, Washington State, as of right now, top my list. If I was doing, which I'll probably do another time, a list that includes the ACC, this would be vastly different. But I'm probably going to do that a little later. But throughout the offseason, I'm going to be doing this for every single conference where we're deciding on which would be the best for expansion that is not involving a Power 5 school. But that is my list as of today. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who would you add to this list? Who would you take off? Really, who would you add to the Big 12 is what I want to know. We're taking out the ACC for this exercise, so don't mention any ACC teams, but if you want to throw the ACC teams in there, throw them in there as well. But if we're talking non-ACC, who would you add? Let me know. Comment down below, like this video, and subscribe.